Okay, Merry Christmas everyone. This is going to be the Christmas past video. This first video I'm going to take you, like I told you in the last video, I'm going to go to a car that I was working on about 10 years ago for a gentleman that passed away. But this was just kind of a car. We had a hot rod shop back in time. I had two friends that we started a hot rod shop together, and we had that for about 10 years. And this was just a project that basically was just spare parts. One of my friends wanted a slingshot dragster, so we just had some parts laying around, so we kind of just threw it together. And like I say, this gentleman named George came in the shop one day and decided he had to have it, so he bought it. And then after he bought it, he kind of saw it as more like a 50s Indy car style, which it had a little bit of that, so we had to kind of retrofit it towards that. Anyway, that project went on until he passed away, and then it traded hands a few times, and then it ended up with a friend of mine that has it. Now, we went to film this, and when I got there, the first thing I asked him, I said, is it okay if I film all this for my YouTube channel? And he said, absolutely, yeah. So we're filming, we're talking, and then Ed was filming us, and then he kind of stops filming. And, which was a little funny, I thought. But then we keep going, and this guy has a bunch of stuff, and he's kind of a private person. So we go to a different part of his shop, and he asked me, he's like, what are you filming all this for? I said, for my YouTube channel, and his response was like, it's not going to be on the internet, is it? I said, well, that's what YouTube is. So anyway, to respect his wishes, I'm only showing the part where we were with the actual car. So I filmed a whole bunch of really cool stuff, but to respect his wishes, I'm not going to show that. So I will show the car itself. So we will get to see that, some of our conversation about it. So we'll have that going on. And then after that, we'll basically get into a slideshow of projects from the old shop that I have. A project called B-52 was a 52 Ford that was meant to look like a military truck. That project, I ended up selling it to a friend of mine before I finished it, and now it's in Las Vegas. He finished it different than what I was going to, but anyway, that car is still around in Las Vegas. The project after that, I think a little bit on my 49 Oldsmobile, cover the back wing I built on that, some things. Then we get into the, I don't know, we get into some motorcycles. Early on I built bicycles, so we'll get into some bicycles that I built, which I still have. They're up in that loft up there behind me. They're kind of buried up there. So all the bicycles I still have. Then we'll get into the Carmagia project, get a little bit more into that. So anyway, it's just a glimpse into my past. And at the end of the video, there's a link to a YouTube channel that I used to have about 14 years ago. So at the end of it, there's a link to that. I think it's just YouTube/Darren Husband, one word. That is about 10 or 12 videos of the videos I used to make from when we were in that shop. Those videos are a little different. I had a little bit more production in them, so they were kind of fun, but it was before the wide format, so they're pretty old. But the reason I quit doing videos back then, because I had to do it on a computer, and editing was just a pain in the ass. I would spend on those videos, I would spend 30 or 40 hours working on those videos, which was just insane. It was just too much time, so I decided I couldn't do that anymore, so I kind of quit doing videos. Now, everything's done on my phone. I don't have to do anything. Everything's on my phone, everything's here, and I just do it, and it's quick, and it's easy, and that's the way I like it. So maybe in the future I'll get more productive and have more fun with it. But for now, I'm just kind of documenting what I'm doing. And I started this channel to share with family and friends that had moved away. So that, this works for this format. But anyway, enjoy the video and have a Merry Christmas. And I'll get one more out before Christmas, which will be the current stuff. Well, actually, yeah, it'll be the future. That'll be the future things I'm working on. So again, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the next one. So the lights.
Yeah, I got that. What are they? It says old on
37. I don't know, that's Buick. I don't know, the little teardrop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It says old.
Swap meet. I don't think it's so that came in swap.
Because I did try and get new chrome rings for them.
When I was saying this line goes there, because there's actually what I was thinking. It actually was going to go from there.
Yeah,
into that. That's where it was going to terminate. Yeah.
This here is so much work.
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah.
That took me like 2 days to weld it and grind it.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought about just kind of pointing it off right here.
Yeah.
Maybe just stop it there, you think? I think that's,
Yeah, it might be because you have since you put a little teardrop there, it might work. Like that. Like that.
Whatever you think. I mean, your design.
It's your car now. So.
Yeah, I know, but I want to still try and keep it in.
That was gonna be a little head pad. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I
go on
figured.
there. So I don't know if I have to use all that or not. I get these weird things sometimes where I like to do things without tools, and I made this so you can get the hood off for whatever reason, so you can get it off without tools. That's why it's got these pins and stuff on it. Again, it kind of
You made those?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I figured you did.
But I just want it to be like you can take it off and put it on without any tools.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're somewhere and you have to work on your motor, you want the hood off. That
Right.
gives you access to it. And I did the same thing on my battery tray on my buggy. Like you can take it off without tools.
I changed the headlights.
Yeah, I saw those. Those look bad. I mean, no longer. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what we had was just what we had. A lot of this.
It's gonna be the radio.
I want to say it was going to be like a glove box, a literally glove box, like a hole. Yeah,
Just a
a hole.
lay stuff in.
Yeah, lay stuff in. Is what it was gonna
And then you got R here. I didn't know what the R's meant.
be.
Rear tail?
Probably red for red lights. Probably
Just
just
red
red
lights.
lights. Yeah, 'cause that's green, red, just red
Okay.
warning lights.
Yeah.
Do you have a piece of turned aluminum for this?
Yeah, it's
okay.
over in the box.
Yeah, so that, we have that. And the mirrors, I think there was only, you have both mirrors or just
One
one?
mirror.
Yeah, there was only ever one, because we used one as a mock-up.
Build one.
Yes, the B52.
Oh, you sold that one.
Yeah, I sold that one.
Mm-hmm.
What else is in that book? I haven't been so long since I've looked at the book. I don't know if I made that book or if George. Yeah. Gene Winfield making on the panel. Me with short hair. Yeah, I think George probably put this book together. I don't know if I've even seen it. Yeah, it's got more. I don't even have these pictures myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, it all they did good there.
Yeah. That's before it got fatigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what he was going for.
Yeah, it's more.
That's why I was trying to figure out why is that picture in there.
Yeah, it's more inspiration for what it
Mhm.
was. I can show you on the phone here in a minute, like some of the wheels. Yeah.
That was the
That's
color
fine.
it was in
Yeah,
it.
that's kind of what we were. That's what it was meant to be. I forgot. Well,
That's all right.
you got more than I got.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that shows some of the substructure underneath that. Yeah, see, these are all pictures George took. So I've actually never seen these pictures.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting.
You had a different kind of wheel on it there, didn't you?
Yeah, that was just a spare tire to roll it
just to
around.
roll it around.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
So what'd you do? Start with the frame, build the frame?
Yeah, we
and
started
then-
with the frame,
and then-
like I say, it was supposed to be a slingshot dragster, so we just kind of. It was just extra. It was just a collection of extra parts. We had a bunch of parts, so we thought, oh, let's throw something together, and we started throwing it together.
There's the
That's
motor.
the motor. That's the other one he built. But then George came in the shop one day, and he's like, that looks like a race car, an Indy car. I was like, yeah, it's really a slingshot dragster. And he's like, well, I want to buy that thing. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's for sale. It's just something we were doing for fun, between the cars we were working on. And he kept pestering me, so I gave him a price that
There's
I thought
the
was
mirror on it.
yeah. I gave him a price that I thought was too high, and I thought he'll be like, you're crazy. And then he's like, well, can I write you a check and you'll keep working on it? I was like, I guess. So that's what we ended up doing.
Did you ever start that one up?
No.
No, you just stuck it in there, huh?
Yep.
That's the car. It's
That's
out
the
of it.
car it came out of, yeah. But that car was in really good shape, so I imagine it probably ran. It had all the records from oil changes and stuff, so I imagine it would probably start right
You
up.
still got it?
I still have the, not the motor, no.
No.
Still got the olds, but not the motor.
There's your wheel. What year is those?
They're off like a 1980, 81 Camaro.
Okay.
They really have the weird beauty ring that goes around.
And I
it.
noticed one side of this is
Yeah, it was just a
on
friction
there,
shock.
but the other side wasn't, or they were
Uh,
cut off. Was that a
Are
boo-boo
the
there?
friction shock still on?
Yeah,
there?
the shocks are on there. This is not attached to that, and one side was cut off or something.
It might have just where it was just tacked. It may have gotten just broken off just by moving it or something.
No, we got a different wheel on it there.
Those were the wheels that were, I think, on the rear ends, the Ford Explorer rear ends when we got them. I think he took some of the wheels because we went to one of those junkyards where you do all the work yourself. And I think he's like, let's put some wheels in the back of the car. Yeah, I'm like, okay. So you're thinking about metallic green, you said?
Yeah.
I would, personally, I don't mind the metal flake, but I think if you do when they do all metal flake, I don't like it when it's all metal flake. I like when it's paneled more like a lowrider, where you would still have like a light metallic, but then you'd have some heavier panels that were green. Just my opinion, the way I like it. That's why I like it. But
so you're saying like, I don't know where you'd have a panel.
Yeah, you'd have to. I just have to look at it and say
like
somewhere
from there down.
Maybe, yeah.
The top.
It just depends. I mean, it's kind of busy in a way. I just think when it's all metallic like that, sometimes it looks cheap. It looks like a boat or something. I don't know. There's something about it. And I like the more like the low riders are done, and sometimes they overdo it in my opinion, but I mean, it's that culture. But the craftsmanship, the work they do is incredible. And I just like, and keep it all green, but do like a dark green that's less metallic, and then maybe a heavy metallic with maybe a gold or a silver line in between it or something. I don't know what, I mean, if you use brass, like this steering wheel, I don't know what accent color you might use with it, but.
Also, the clears can change the color too.
Yeah.
Clears.
Here's some more of those pictures.
Oh, okay.
Had a different steering wheel on it there.
Yeah, that was the original steering wheel. That was going to be in it, but George didn't like that one because he hated it. So I was like, okay. And that's when he showed up with that wooden one after a while. And you got to be a certain stature to, I think, sit in this car and ride it too. Originally, the brake pedal was like you kind of put your legs over the transmission, and you worked one pedal on one side of the transmission, one on the other. That's how. That's the only way I could have operated it originally.
Now, on those mirrors, that one is the stand. That one's facing like that, and then that one's twisted in. Is that?
That's so you can see out of it.
Oh, okay.
That puts it in a position to where you can see. If I matched this one, you couldn't adjust it anywhere where you could see out of it. So it's turned so it actually works for you.
I started to cut it off. And I said, "No, he's done that for a reason."
That was it looks weird, but that's why. So you can.
Right, I figured that was it. That's it.
It shows. It works. Yeah, you can't put mirrors on. It's a small mirror. You can't put on the same spot on the car, or you can't see out of them. Yeah, early days. Yeah, that if you go back to that last picture, I think that which is a gas cap now was what was over there. So we moved it to the back. So that was.
But that was going to be for the brake.
Yeah, that was for the.
Yeah, I like that piece there. That's
a
nice piece.
I don't know. I mean, I think I added up like that front nose piece. Like if you added up by how many hours I spent working on it while I was getting paid, it's like a ridiculous amount of money.
I know, and you really can't charge them.
I know. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's what I was telling them. That girl sat on it, model and Bennett, and the guy's like, "It's no big deal." And I was like, that's like almost $2,000 right there, right? That's like time and stuff, which is kind of crazy, but. I put this little like spoiler on the bottom of that, which will probably get knocked off probably.
Yeah, weld it all the way up.
Yeah.
A bunch of welding all the way down through there.
Yeah, hopefully that should let enough air into the radiator.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have vents in the sides.
Okay. Yeah.
I ain't just gonna put flat panels on. I'm gonna have vents in them.
I think at one point George was talking. I think he wanted, before I put the scoops and stuff, he was wanting to put the louvers. Yeah, a bunch of louvers, which would have been okay, but I didn't. I mean, your metal has to be really good if you're going to louver it. It's got to be in good shape to begin with. Like, so I didn't.
With that curve in there.
Yeah, so
I louvered them years ago.
I talked him out of it. So, but no, I like the glue. They keep you from getting burnt too.
Yeah.
So. And you only got the exhaust on one side, obviously, since
Mhm.
it comes out. And I like those. Those pipes are kind of cool. The
Yeah.
3 and the 2.
I guess Charlie welded this piece in. That's all he got done. He
Okay.
said he welded them, brazed them in, or
Okay, I don't even remember if I guess I made it because it was all hooked up. So
yeah,
I guess
you had it made.
I had it
wasn't,
made. Yeah.
wasn't attached. He attached all that. That's all he got
Yeah.
done. These are gonna be what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Put them on the side panels, maybe.
Okay.
On a flat piece of metal.
That'll work.
Just thinking. I mean, just
Yeah.
figuring.
Leave the
different
Ford
things.
on it.
Yeah, it's a brass.
Yeah.
Clean up nice, I think.
Yeah. And
I
it's
like
Ford.
brass.
Since it's Ford, yeah.
You
Obviously.
know, I like
Yeah.
copper and brass.
Where is that car at? Where
It's in the other
In the room? Okay, we'll look at that. So you're trying to have this finished sometime during the summer?
I hope so. We don't work too much in the wintertime,
Okay.
so I can get on it pretty good now.
If you want, I mean, if you want any direction on the paint or whatever, I mean, don't let me force you anything, but I'll give you some ideas of what I'm
love
thinking.
that.
You want to offend me to use it or not use it, just whatever.
I love that.
I know like Ian Russell, or the Ian Russell, is that his name?
Yeah,
Like yeah. Sometimes when he does those all metal flakes, it looks cheap when it looks like a toy or a boat, and it just doesn't look. But if you do it right, it looks really cool. But
Right.
it's just
I thought Deltron was an aircraft paint, was using aircraft. You were talking about lifting, are you talking about between coats, you had a certain amount of time to spray the second coat of, is it clear or is it?
There's 2 bases and then clear.
Okay.
And he said,
You gotta stay on that timeline.
yeah, he said you couldn't let it dry more than a couple hours
Right,
or whatever.
okay. That's all I could show from what I filmed at his place. These are just some pictures from the shop when we were working on it. And as we mentioned in one of those pictures, we had a workshop at our shop, and we had Gene Winfield, the custom car builder, come in, and he actually built one of the panels on this car during the workshop. So that was kind of a fun, neat experience. So here's Gene. That guy's a workaholic. Okay, this is the Made in America project. This was sponsored by Diamondback Tires. They were building the white wall military tires for it, and you can kind of see in that drawing. This project got pretty far along. This was like day one. That's a jig table, which I still have. It was a kind of a complex, crazy frame that I used a water jet, got out a lot of parts, a lot of tubes. Those are supposed to look like rivets, all those little knots. They were just carriage bolts, but then they were welded on. It was a crazy car. I got it about, I don't know, I'd say 80% finished before I sold it. It was a rolling chassis, but I just needed the money and I was tired of working on it, and just the timing of it, I just went ahead and sold it. But it was kind of a fun project. Like I say, it's in Las Vegas now. The guy that bought it put suicide doors on it, or wing doors. They open through the top. This is the 49 Olds. I'm trying to make it kind of look like a vintage race car. I wanted things to look like things that could have been done in the 50s. So with this rear wing, everything's just aluminum and pop riveted together. So this is kind of the style I was going for, to kind of keep it looking 50s kind of. So I spent maybe a couple weekends on this wing. I was pretty happy with the way it came out for what it is. It's kind of an odd project. It's a love it or hate it kind of a car, but I personally love it. So these are some aircraft lights that I put in to the back of it. I really love those too. That just goes with the style. This is a bunch of 28 Roadsters. This is the dash that's in my Gold Rush Ford, which is in the video. I told you there's some video you can watch from my old channel. That's the dash for that car. This car is the first car I started building. This is my old garage. This was in my father's garage. And this is actually the first hot rod I started building, which I never finished. It's still in the background in the shop. But I built a jig table first to build this car. And I put it up on the jig table and kind of just worked the chassis from there. This is kind of see the chassis. It's got a Vortec V6 in it. So when I was starting the cross bracing for the transmission. The Vortec V6 and the transmission, the rear end's all out of an S10. So I was kind of going for a little bit different hot rod, totally non-traditional, I guess, as far as the drivetrain. But I need to finish it. I've got the floor pan started on it, which is about as far as it is now. I've got the body. I've got the dash cut out of a 54 Ford for it. But again, this was my first attempt at a hot rod. I had muscle cars before this, but this was my first attempt at a hot rod, so hopefully I'll finish it. This is a GTO. In high school, I had a 66 Chevelle. I sold it to start doing other car stuff, and then I always wanted something back like the Chevelle, so I came across this car on eBay. The underneath of it, you can see the frame here, but the entire frame is completely done from front to back. It's got a 327 Chevy in it. It's basically ready to go. I just need to do body work on it, and I've got too many irons in the fire, and I just haven't got to it. But it's sitting in the garage, so I definitely want to do it. The hood was a little messed up, so I decided to do this with a hood. That's off of a Ram truck, and I just liked how it was split. Like a Pontiac always has the two sides are always split. So I never liked the rear end of a Pontiac GTO. So that's a 69 Camaro bumper that I grafted into the center section of the GTO bumper, which made this whole corner open because that's where the bumper was. So this is just me trying to make it look a little better than stock. Kind of looks like a Firebird, I guess, so it looks natural because it still looks like a Pontiac. So I'll get to that eventually. And before I was doing cars, I guess before Volkswagens, but before I got into really custom cars, I experimented with some bicycles. So I made like 3 bicycles. It was because at the time I was dating a girl and she wanted a tricycle, so I thought, well, I'll just build a bike for you, and that's what happened. So, and Schwinn Stingrays were my favorite, so I ended up making like a chopper version of a Schwinn Stingray for myself. And then I wanted to see what I could do in metal because at that time I hadn't done a lot of metal work, so I just did this. This was a little kid's bike. It was little, but basically just did it to see how I could manipulate metal and see how I could do. And this was the spiderweb bike that I did. And obviously you can probably figure out this was like during the time of Orange County choppers, so I thought, I can do something with a spiderweb. It would be kind of fun. It'd be a lot of work, but it was worth it. I like the challenge of bending all the tubes and welding them all together. And that turned out to be the finished product. I still have all these bikes. They're up in the loft in the garage in the background, but it was kind of a poor investment. I had about $1,200 in that bike, which was a lot of money. I didn't intend on it, but it was just one of those things. Everything that's red is powder coated. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Motorcycles I also do. I think some of my best works in motorcycles. This was a giveaway bike. This one I basically just helped the guy with a paint scheme. It was his ideal basically. I just laid it all out and everything. I helped a little bit with the bike, but it's mostly just some graphics he wanted, kind of tribal. This was a Sportster that I had that I was building. I kind of like the kind of race look or kind of cafe look. So this was one Sportster that I worked on, and I sold this frame. But it was coming out nice, so we go through this bike. It's kind of simple. That's an old 32 Ford Light, I think. But I hated to sell it, but ended up giving me money to work on this one. This is the second one I was working on. This is one I still have. This is still in the shop in the background. You can see there the seat was just mocked up at that point. I got everything else done, so as we go along, I'll start working on that rear section that's just taped up. It's a hardtail bike, but that's the suspension and the seat. It's like a Fox shock that I think has 5 inches of travel. So this bike's basically done. I bought a kickstand recently that I need to put on it, and then I can tear it apart, paint it, and put it together. So I need to get on it pretty soon. So I have the seat. I mean, I'm basically done really. So, but it's kind of different looking. I mean, kind of looks like a, I don't know, dirt bike, but it sounds like a Harley. So the way it looks and the way it sounds is kind of the opposite. This is a '74 Sportster that I built. One of the first bikes I built at the shop that we used to have. This bike, I did everything on this, fabricated everything. I did all the painting. I didn't do the pinstriping, but I did everything else. Sewed the seat. Also on that spiderweb bike back there, I did all the seats. This bike I sold on eBay, and it ended up going to Japan. So this bike lives somewhere in Japan now. And this is the Karmann Ghia that you see in current videos. That's the hood ornament I changed. Normally they have the round big VW. That's the gas cap on the front of the car now. That kind of looks like a GTO Ferrari, 250 GTO. So that's that part of it. This, I'm experimenting with different lights on the front. You can see the little lights next to the headlights. Probably not going to do that, but this is just kind of the process. I'm mocking things and looking at it. This, I knew I was going to cut the top off, so I wanted to be able to make the structure of the car stronger once the top came off, so that's why I did 3/4 doors. So that's the process here. It's cutting the doors, and also had to make them open suicide. There at the bottom, you can start to see the bracing that I put on the bottom. It's about 8 inches high or so, and it goes across, and the car does not flex. I did all that before I cut the roof. And there's the panel that I'm putting on to fix it. I wanted it wider, and the screwdriver in there, you can see how much wider it is. So it's wider and goes farther forward than a regular Karmann Ghia there. This is the rear spoiler I'm starting to work on. Just mocking it out with some paper. Got all my lines there. Starting to work some of the metal, the basic shapes there. Looking at it. It follows the car. This is, when I weld stuff, I use, you can see there, the high temperature paint on the back side of things. I found that works good, better than weld through primer. It seems to stay on there after you weld it. So it took me 2 weekends to get this spoiler done, so, or maybe 3 weekends. But it follows the curve and like the contours of the car in like 3 different directions. So it was pretty, as simple as it is. It's small, but it was pretty complex. But I was happy. That's going to be belts that go on to hold the trunk down, and that's the spoiler. So I'd like to get back on this one before too long. But anyway, here's the YouTube channel to my old channel that you should watch. So Merry Christmas.